Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Black and White United Show. In today's episode, we are going to be doing part 3 of the 2025 Collingwood season review. In this part, I am joined by both guests who were with us for part 1 and part 2, Nate from Nate Talks Pies and Mick Sacker from the Magpie Army Chronicles. Gents, how are we this evening?
Very good.
Magnificent.
All right. So we finished off part 2, obviously, with the win over Melbourne. We had that bye, obviously, a week before the finals. It wasn't really a week of a bye because we had also the game between the Gold Coast Suns and Essendon, which, had pretty big stipulations on the Western Bulldogs. And if, things didn't go away towards the back end of the season with us not beating Melbourne and potentially Port Adelaide beating Gold Coast, that game could have affected us as well in our final positionings on the ladder. But thank God it didn't happen, as we said last time, and we'll say it again. Thank you, Port Adelaide, for assisting us with that one there. But we had a much-needed week off, and the week leading into the qualifying final, I do want to get both your opinions on this. I had a really good feeling. I was extremely confident going into this game. Adelaide were obviously still the favourites finishing on top, and rightly so. But I just felt after the loss in round 23 against them by 3 points, I just felt that we had that little bit extra going into this game, that little bit extra motivation, a little bit extra confidence. There was a lot of talk about with Jeremy Howe being out and not playing this game. Is it going to affect us? And at the same time, I was thinking to myself, well, he didn't really play the first game against Adelaide. That round 23 game. And then obviously with them having Isaac Rankin out, I thought to myself, well, that was a pretty big bonus because he was pretty influential on the field against us a few weeks beforehand. Nate, going into this game, how did you feel? And what was your takes from it? What was the biggest standouts for you in this game?
I was on the fan forum at the time, and I was actually pretty optimistic against Adelaide. It's not really a free swing when you finish 4th, and Adelaide were on a 9-game win streak. They had beaten us, but we love it when it's backs against the wall kind of thing, interstate as well. Yes, we love to travel. We love to win on the road. Mm-hmm. And I just felt Adelaide were a bit shaky as well. They beat us by 3 points, fair enough, but they really struggled to beat West Coast the week prior to beating us, and they conceded, I think, 100 points against North Melbourne under the roof as well. So I just thought they were due for a loss. The loss you need to have. That's a theory I believe in heading into finals. Adelaide's first final series since 2017 as well. I just thought for Adelaide, the internal pressure was going to be enormous, and I think we can swoop in on that, pardon the pun. I was very optimistic heading into it. Not so much confident because we barely scraped by Melbourne, scraped into the top 4, but optimistic we could challenge Adelaide on their home deck.
Did you feel that though that with us finishing in the top 4, it just gave us that better momentum going into the finals as opposed to finishing 5th, 6th, 7th or 8th and having to play a do or die in the first week? I feel like we had to finish in the top 4 to make some sort of impact in the finals. Did you have that sort of vibe as well, really?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, because we lost against Melbourne. All options were on the table, and to be honest, I don't want to play Hawthorn again, given the last time we played them. Week 1 finals, there's no home factor there, so thank you again, Port Adelaide, for beating Gold Coast. I think we had other results go our way as well to cement top 4, thankfully. Just a nice little breather in the bye week as well, even though there was Gold Coast, Essendon didn't really impact us.
Yeah, no.
September, but just get to put the feet up. Players coming back in. I think it was just Jeremy Howe that was out of our best 23. Bobby Hill, obviously, as well, but we were actually starting to get some players returning to form. Peak condition as well, cherry ripe for finals, something that we were lacking throughout the latter part of that season compared to other clubs in finals. So anything was possible at the time.
Mick, what was your take on it? How did you feel going into the qualifying final?
Yeah, going into this game, it just seemed that us Collingwood supporters and maybe just a small handful of journos were tipping us. Like everyone else was tipping us to get absolutely fucking poleaxed. And I remember when I did my stream just before that, everyone that came on was confident. Yeah, well, everyone tipped the pies by, from like a small win to a massive win. And when I went on the jumper punch show, all of them, they were tipping Adelaide by 10 goals, and I'm thinking, why is this massive disparate view here going on here? And surely we can't be deluding ourselves, but we weren't, because it was the planets had aligned for us. Everything, like from Port beating Gold Coast to us ending up playing Adelaide again after who we nearly beat 3 weeks earlier, Rankin being out, Geordie back in form. The planets had aligned, and we were right to tip us. And I remember tipping us to win by about 50 points or some ridiculous amount. But I'll tell you what, we should have won by that much. And it was pleasant. It was pleasant to see us back and firing again, and we were, all of us were talking flags again after that win.
I feel like there were so many key moments. Excuse me, so many key moments in that game where, throughout the season, and I'll touch back on the games that like me and Nate sort of covered, like the Sydney game at Gather Round, where Sydney just kept coming at us, and then we just kept responding, and we kept doing what we needed to do. I felt as if this game, even when Adelaide were pushing us a little bit, especially in that first half, and there was that little bit of an arm wrestle on my prediction video, I was adamant the third quarter, we are going to put this side away. We're going to put them to bed. It just had that feel about it being interstate, sort of. I wouldn't even say backs against the wall, because backs against the walls, even when Collingwood supporters are a little bit hesitant and stuff like that, and a lot of us were pretty confident that we'd be able to match it with them the entire way. But that third quarter, those spray of goals and stuff that we did, I thought the Mason Cox inclusion in this game was absolutely key, and like just structurally, and then what he was able to do, and then. The first time he got the ball and tapped it down, it was to Pendles, but he missed. But then he did it again for Society. He did it again to Geordie. He gave away a 50-metre penalty at the start of the game. But then, right after that, he was able then to win a really important contest on the wing and take a really strong contested mark on the far wing. And it was just like his confidence wasn't dropping, and just structurally everything looked really well. The pressure that Lachie Schultz put on in this game throughout the game, I thought was second to none. The tackles and stuff. I thought Dan Houston was actually quite good as well. Didn't do anything spectacular, but just his, outside the pack, that quarterback sort of role, getting the ball, then just delivering it out and stuff was just really what we were screaming for a long time. It wasn't something over the top, but it was just the class that oozed at times. Do you think, and Nate, I'll put this question to you, do you think that the experience of finals in this game, it was true what everyone was saying? Do you think that we just showed that little bit more class and the finals experience?
Pretty straightforward, yeah. I think Adelaide only had a handful of players with finals experience, particularly at Adelaide, but then you had guys like Neil Bullen, Peatling, Isaac coming in, but they all got knocked down straight sets. So I think there was internal pressure for those players as well to step up for their club. Us being back in finals since 2023, that's kind of why I was optimistic for this one. Even guys like Mason Cox, I thought were going to deliver in this sort of game. Schultz in his first final series since Freo 2022, I thought he was going to step up as well. Dan Houston had a point to prove. He missed finals all of last year for knocking out Isaac Rankin, so point to prove. Perryman, a point to prove as well, getting knocked down straight sets last year. Darcy Moore had a point to prove, not being from another club, but trying to being the captain as well, to step up and lead the way. So just a lot of internal pressure for Adelaide, but also for us as well to display what we are as Collingwood, to bounce back, get these sort of wins. Maybe not a backs against the wall sort of win, but the underdog sort of win as well.
Mick, what was your thoughts once the game sort of was done and dusted and it was finished, and then, we're sitting there again with our legs up for another week, sort of watching the way the other games are sort of played and stuff like that? What was the feeling like from your part? Like, did you think that, was there a particular side that you wanted to play? Were you just, was it a bit of a, go back down to sort of reality once the other games were being played, once the Geelong Brisbane game was done, or, once we found out who, could have played against? Like, what was the vibe like from your end?
Well, my vibe, as soon as we won that game, my vibe was we're going all the way. We're back in town. We've turned the corner here. We've lifted for the finals. We're going to be one of those teams that has up and down, is always a bit up and down in the latter stages of the home and away season. But when it comes to finals, we turn it on. But then when I saw Hawthorn absolutely obliterate Adelaide, it sent me back down to normal. After that, I thought, oh, geez. I'll tell you what, when it came down to the last four, the whole AFL community was saying any one of these four could go all the way here. And it went from me being optimistic that we were just going to fucking smash everyone to going back into the field and thinking, oh, geez, here we go. Hawthorn looks good. Fucking Brisbane have bounced back. Geelong looked good. So, yeah, it was a bit sobering watching that Hawthorn totally dismantle Adelaide. It kind of made us feel like, oh, right, so Adelaide's fucking crap. So it doesn't mean shit. Yeah.
The game between Brisbane and Gold Coast basically was the winner plays us. I reckon, that first quarter I was watching it and I'm thinking to myself, I don't want to play Gold Coast. Just the way they were moving the ball against Brisbane in that first quarter. I'm thinking like Tuke Miller, Noah Anderson here are getting their hands on the ball a little bit too easily and splitting Brisbane through. And then, the first 10 minutes it was all Gold Coast. Then the arm wrestle happened a little bit. And then by the end of the first quarter, I was thinking to myself, geez, I really want to play Gold Coast next week. Like the way that Brisbane, and it was not even a space over a half of football.
Yeah.
It was a space over literally like an 8-minute period towards the back end of the first quarter. Brisbane just broke the shackles off, and it was like whatever happened between them and Geelong in the first week, and then who they play their second game. They had to play someone in the second game. I just had a mental blank there. And they've gone against Gold Coast. I was just like, the Gold Coast was the second game. It was just such a shift in momentum really, really quickly. And then obviously Gold Coast couldn't hold on. They got poleaxed by Brisbane. And then it set ourselves up for, another chapter in the never-ending novel of Collingwood and Brisbane in, big games. Going into this game, there were obviously a lot of talk around the Bobby Hill situation, whether he was going to play or not, and that sort of like took over more headlines than I think it probably should have. Jeremy Howe was to come back in. There was a lot of talk about Brody Mychek and about his foot. Dan McStay coming into the side. Nate, do you think the side that was selected for the preliminary final, before we actually touch on the game, do you think the side that was selected, I know hindsight's a great thing, but do you think it was the right course that they made?
Well, my mindset was, doesn't matter what the team's going to be. Obviously, the result's going to go a long way. If we win, they're courageous. If we lose, it's going to look very terrible in hindsight. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But it's just back in the best 23. We made, was it one or two changes?
I think it was just the one, just Jeremy Howe.
That's the thing as well. We were the only team that made a change. Jeremy Howe for Will Parker. Now it's jogging my memory there. Mychek, underdone. Dan McStay waiting in the wings. There was also talk about Hoskin Elliott playing as a tactical sub as well. So a little bit of murmurs there. I wasn't too thrilled with the chopping and changing still, even though Jeremy Howe, much more influential compared to Will Parker. Just, you need to be settled in September. Geelong were unchanged. Hawthorn were unchanged. Brisbane, for all their injuries and whatnot, were unchanged as well. Just got to back your best 23 as well. That's just something we were lacking in the latter part of the season.
So, Mick, I'll give you the first half of this game. Tell me what you think. The first half of the game, the first couple of minutes, I mean, Mason Cox dropping that mark from the first clearance straight out that Dacos gets the ball and stuff, but then being able to kick the goal a couple of minutes later and stuff like that. Just give me your thoughts on the first half, and then, Nate, I'll get to you for the second.
Just to reiterate, before the game, so my checks in the fucking swimming pool the day before. So I thought we selected him, but I honestly thought we were going to play McStay. We were just maybe giving my check up to the last second to prove that he was okay, but obviously not. He played. I looked at I was watching the players in the warm up. I don't know, mate. I don't know what it is, but he just did not look right. And then, as you said, we started off pretty good. Bang, straight out of the centre. But then Coxie drops an easy chest mark. He does kick a goal after that. But then Brisbane get on top, and they're just finding it a little bit easy. And Pendles goes down, which when you're at the ground, you're relying on the terrace fucking telegraph to tell you what's going on. And I didn't even know Pendles had come off, and I'm looking at Rowan Steele running around, and I'm like, what's going on? I didn't find out that Pendles was out until I went for a dart at quarter time.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, yeah. So after second quarter, it was great. It was back to what we know about the Pies, what we've been doing for fucking 3 years, smashing teams in that one quarter of unrelenting forward momentum, and when no other team can combat that. But our problem has always been we can't sustain it for long enough. So yeah, going into half time, I remember going outside, and a friend of all of ours, Benny Zero, was glad to meet him for the first time, and we were just talking away. And both of us said we should go out and absolutely belt them from here, and it wasn't to be.
So that going into the halftime break, I was pretty confident. I'm not going to lie. I was feeling, really good about the way that we played in that second quarter. That second quarter, I mean, quarter time score, Brisbane were 4-3. Halftime score, Brisbane were 4-6. We went from 1-1 to 7-1. So we kicked 6 goals in that second quarter. That second quarter, so from the end of the first quarter until halftime, there was a 40-minute period where we kept Brisbane down to 3 behinds. Now, in the back of my mind, I had the feeling like, geez, we are hanging on to this. We're playing well. We're beating him. I mean, Membry's kicking goals. Houston's kicking that ripper on the boundary line. But there was still it was some of the best football that we've played all year. But it just felt like we were hanging on with our fingertips. Like, how are we going to sustain? I just thought, how are we going to sustain this for the next quarter? Yeah. Obviously, I felt good. Brisbane are always going to come back. We know Brisbane we're going to do what they needed to do. But I think the feeling at halftime was, if we can just implement that in the third quarter, even half of that, knowing they're going to score a couple of goals, but if we can just restrict them on the scoreboard as much as possible, we should be able to run away with it. That's the feeling that I got going into it. Yeah. Mate, that second half, what the fuck happened?
We lost. That's what happened. Case closed. Good night, everyone. But something happened at halftime for Brisbane in particular. It's a testament to them. They're a champion side. But 6 goals in that second quarter, and it's completely undone. We conceded 7 goals in that third quarter. I think it was 5 goals from defensive 50 stoppage, or Brisbane's forward half stoppages. Yep. We were just flat-footed. Zach Bailey kicking a couple of goals. Cam Rayner's kicking goals from stoppages. Will Ashcroft kicking goals from stoppages. I think there was that soccer goal, I think it was the third quarter, and that was just hands in the air. They're just plucking goals at their arse here. The only highlight in that third quarter was that Jamie Elliott mark to keep us pretty much in the game. That's sad because halfway through the third quarter, he had to take that epic mark to keep us in the game. I headed into halftime as well, not as confident. I knew Brisbane were able to respond. I remember that prelim final last year against Geelong. Similar situation. They were down by 3 or 4 goals, and they got an opening to get back into the game. And I was worried about that in the third quarter. Not so much them kicking goals, but how we would be able to respond as well. And we didn't respond in that third quarter. And basically, it ended up being identical to the round 21 game against Brisbane, where they came out after halftime, just guns blazing. Last time we played them, Henry Smith was kicking goals. This time around, it was Ty Gallup kicking goals. Who are these players? I don't know.
Yeah, we know them now. Well. That's the thing. And we've I wouldn't say we've made them famous, but they it's like you've got to be humbled sometimes, and you need to be respectful to the opposition. And we can be disappointed in that second half performance and stuff. And and even in the last quarter, I mean, there was no real fight there. I mean, obviously they tried too much, they tried hard, but Brisbane were just flexing, and it just showed for me that we are at our best, even with a side that's underdone a little bit. Just with the question marks of a few players there, we were able to produce some amazing football, and we did it against them. A few weeks beforehand at the G, again, that second quarter, peppering their defense. But it's just you're playing catch up. And I mean, 4-1 at quarter time, you're already on the back foot. We have to play our best footy just to get in front. And how are you supposed to sustain that? It's it's not exactly the same, but it's the same concept to what it was against Gold Coast earlier in the season when we couldn't score a goal, up until halfway through the third quarter. We're playing catch up the entire time. You hit the front and you're spent, and then bang, Noah Anderson does his thing. With this game against Brisbane, I think the one point in the third quarter it was where, we're desperately trying to hang on for dear life, and Brisbane are just doing these short little 45 passes, these dinky little passes around the ground, and then they just found Cam Rayner, and he's literally just standing in the forward line, on his own, kicks the goal. The other disappointing part, I mean, we can sit here and we can talk about umpiring decisions, and we can talk about all the crap that goes along with it. But I've got two parts to this, and I said it in my review of this game a few weeks ago. Membry goes back and slots that goal. That's what he's paid to do. And that free kick that should have been paid against Jamie Elliott, that scenario never exists. It doesn't happen. He's 35 metres out, pretty much directly in front. Yeah, all right, he's on his own. You kick a hospital ball to him. And credit to, was it Starcevic who did it? Was it Starcevic who? Credit to Starcevic here. Who, it was fantastic defending to get there to make the spoil and stuff. And you can't take anything away from that. But I think the most disappointing part is that contest in every game of every round, every year for the past few years, whenever that happens, exactly the way it is, even if he does get a slight fist in the ball, if he makes contact with the player coming from front on, it's deemed front on contact, and it's a free kick. Now the rule specifically does say that if he's looking at the ball, makes contact with the ball, blah blah blah. But every umpire has had the same interpretation of this rule for the entire. Let's just talk about just this season alone. Every umpire's had the same interpretation of that rule the entire time, and it's never changed. It's always been a free kick. And, you got Carlton supporters and Essendon supporters and every non-Collingwood supporter saying, "Oh no, great defensive effort. It's never a free kick. All this stuff, blah blah blah." But it's like, mate, you put Jamie Elliott in a Carlton top, you put Jamie Elliott in a Richmond top, in an Essendon top. Hell, you put Starcevic in a Collingwood top and Jamie Elliott in a Brisbane top. I guarantee you, everyone's perception of that changes. So, I mean, that's just my Nuffy Collingwood biased hat, which I'll gladly wear for the rest of my life. But, and he kicks that goal. It changes the momentum of the game. Do we win it from there? Probably not. Let's just make that clear.
Yeah,
I don't
but
think
it gives you a sniff, at least.
It just gives you the door is ajar and see what happens. And then
it's only a one-goal game if that happens, yeah? And
we won.
Plenty of time left, yeah.
We won a premiership based on the comebacks, based on the last quarter pressures and stuff like that. So I do think we're running out of legs though in this game. I don't think it would have deterred the final result of the game. I was going to say 4 points there, but 4 points went up for offer, but it was going to change. It wasn't going to change the final result. I think Brisbane was just too good on the day. Final siren goes, and it's 11 goals 5 to 15 goals 10, 71 to 100. What's that? 27 points. It was 29 points when we played Brisbane a few weeks beforehand. Realistically, it was almost a carbon copy of the same game, and we had more players, or we had a better side in, and Brisbane, they actually had a few more out than the last game we played them. So, we can't really say much credit to them. They did their thing. And I mean, was there, Nate, I'll ask you this question. Was there a feeling of, like overwhelming disappointment, or was it a realistically, this is where we're at sort of feeling after the game?
After the game, probably the first time this year, I've hopped on social media just to chat with mates and whatnot. Usually I take 24 hours, but I think just the reality kicked in. We're not the best side in the competition. Brisbane have got that mantle. And yeah, if we lost to Freo or Gold Coast like this, then absolutely would be disappointed. But I think Brisbane, the team that they are, how they're structured, how professional, disciplined as well. No foot wrong. And if it's a foot wrong, it's 2 steps forward, 1 step back sort of thing. And we were the opposite of that, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. So reality kicked in, unfortunately for me. Thankfully, it was a 29 point loss instead of an epic loss. That would have been heartbreaking as well. Stalemate final quarter, and then they kicked that late goal with 3 minutes to go to ice the game. And it's just, I'd never leave games early. Should I leave early sort of thing? Nah, just wait it out. Except my
last game, he just stayed out. Mick, how was your emotions sort of as that final scoring went?
Can I ask, is getting out of your seat and just hanging out, not watching the game, but just hanging out, you're still inside the stadium, but you're just hanging around the standing area, you're kind of like not watching the game. That's not leaving, yeah? You're still in
I actually got off my seat where my dad was, and I caught up with a couple of my mates really quickly, and was chatting to him for the last couple of minutes of the game before I left. So I did exactly the same thing, but you just knew it was over. You didn't leave early. It's the same thing as going to take a piss. It's fine. I think, it wasn't so much the, oh my God, we blew it, this, that. I think it was just a humbling reality check of, hang on a second, we're not there yet. Like, in the middle part of the season, it was all clicking, it was all great, no worries, but we just tapered off a little bit too much, I think, and we couldn't get ourselves back up. We did 2 weeks before against Adelaide, but we just couldn't get there right at the end. So, the game's finished, we're out, it's all done, reality sinks in. It's a bit disappointing going into a grand final week where we're not there and we're so close. Before I just quickly touch on the grand final, even though we weren't in it, we'll quickly just touch on it for 2 seconds. But I think I didn't feel as bad as I did this year as I did to 2019 when we lost to GWS. I think because that was a close game and, we should have won, and, the anticipation of, oh my God, it's going to be a Collingwood Richmond sort of grand final and stuff. We should beat GWS, and, the way we lost that game with the umpiring decisions, the Grundy in the back, the missed opportunities, the comeback towards the end. I mean, that stung quite a bit. This one, I think it was more just, we're not there. We're close, but we're still far off.
Yeah, we can't say anything. Their midfield, it just runs. So even without Lockie Neal, look at their midfield. It's just stars everywhere. And who we got? We just got Nick. And Geordie got banged up early.
In the second quarter. He got stood on his calf in the second quarter,
Yeah, so it's basically Nick up against, your McCluggages, Dunkley and the Ashcroft boys. And I'm sure there's like 3 or 4 others. And that's where it was. And you can have like Logan Morris and what's his name, Gallup. When the ball's coming in that frequently, of course they're going to kick, your 3-4 goals, and that's just the way it is, man.
You missed the 2 Ashcroft boys too, just quietly, just to sprinkle them on top. But anyway. So grand final, Geelong, Brisbane. I tipped Geelong by 3 goals, and I'll put my hand up and say I was horribly wrong. I actually thought up until halftime I was going to be spot on, to be honest. But then again, the second half, I mean, it looked as if it was going to be a carbon copy of our game with them, but then they just Geelong just shut off, and they couldn't handle just the frequent flow of the game. Nate, I know you didn't watch the grand final live. Did you catch up on the little mini highlights here and there of it, or did you just let it go?
I was a pretentious prick on grand final day, but I did watch the replay on 7 Mate when I got home. Bit of a stalemate for basically 3 quarters up until that 5-minute red time in the third quarter. Bit surprised with that final quarter. Like, anytime the centre clearance, forward of centre for either team, straight through for a goal. That final quarter was just, it was like an exhibition, and not a good exhibition. Let's just get this game over and done with. Celebrations for Brisbane, heartbreak for Geelong. We'll throw in Cam Rayner tackling the headband off Bailey Smith as well. That was an iconic moment for me in this game. Will Ashcroft winning back-to-back Norm Smith medals, which was pretty good for him. 58 games in his career. But I didn't have this feeling of we should have smoked Geelong in the grand final or anything like that. It's just Brisbane. They were that team. Not too sure what the hell happened with Geelong. 9-game win streak, and their lowest winning margin in that streak was 30 points. So when the going got tough, they melted, and Brisbane, they made them pay. But besides that, just it is what it is. We see what Brisbane are for the great team they are. They get the youngsters in yet again. Free agents as well. We got to try and replicate that and try and beat them at their own game, I guess. But that's for next year.
Yeah, that's it. Mick, what did you think of grand final really quickly before we move on to?
Same as you, man. I tipped Geelong before that, and it totally bamboozled me to see what was happening in that third and last quarter. The bastards had like 20 minutes of the game being sealed and just enjoying themselves, banging goals in, playing with no pressure. And it was just, look, I was actually happy for him because even though I tipped Geelong, I didn't want to see Geelong win. So seeing that, and then that feeling of, we almost had him. Now, look, we didn't really deserve to beat him in the prelim, but that one-eyed thing comes out where you think, we should have beaten them, and then we would have belted Geelong as well. But yeah,
it's like that. It's like that clip from the first Fast and Furious movie where, what's his face? Brian says to Dom, "Dude, I almost had you," and he's like, "You never had me. You never had your car.
You never had your flag."
Yeah, you never had it. Look, I think there was a small part when the game finished. My grand final day was ripping out tiles in the front and back, fixing up the veranda and stuff like that. And I think I really wanted to watch Snoop Dogg, really. And I was spilling I didn't get to go to a Snoop Dogg concert because we lost to Brisbane the week before. But I think there was that little bit of a after the game. And when you saw Brisbane sort of just take the piss in the last quarter, you think, geez, if Geelong put that up against us in grand final day and we were half switched on, but we just didn't deserve to be there at the end of it. Brisbane were just the better side, and you can't take that away from them. It wasn't like 2007 where we lose to Geelong in an epic prelim final by 5 points and the ball's left in our forward line when the siren goes, and then they go and play Port Adelaide the week after and smash them by 119 points. It wasn't that feeling of this should have been us here. It was just we're just not there yet. We're close, but we're not there. We're just got to get. I mean, the hardest part about winning a flag is obviously getting there, and as Collingwood supporters, we know that better than anybody. But that's the way it was. Congratulations to the Brisbane Lions winning the 2025 Premiership. We move on to our next topic of discussion. Now, at the time of this video has been recorded, there's been a shit ton of news, rumors, and stuff like that that's going through, especially about Collingwood in particular. We'll touch on the Copeland too. Obviously, big shock with Darcy Cameron sort of pipping Nick towards the end. Collingwood supporters, though, don't really find it so much of a shock because he was just so consistent throughout the whole season, and it's thoroughly well-deserved. Isaac Quaynor coming in third. I had Isaac Quaynor in my top 10. I didn't think he'd finish third, but that's awesome. I think I had Jamie Elliott. I can't remember finishing third, but just quickly before we move on to list spots and stuff like that, what was your thoughts, Nate, on the Copeland Trophy? Like, pretty good result for everyone around?
Yeah, not surprised with Darcy Cameron winning the best and fairest. Nick Dacos being second, always the bridesmaid, never the bride this year for him. Quaynor was a shock third for me. If I did I did a top 5, but not a top 10. I would have had Quaynor probably around 9 or 10. Fourth was Elliott. I think it was Elliott. Either way, top 3, Darcy Cameron, Nick Dacos, Isaac Quaynor. I realised as well the best youngster is 21 and under. I would have had Ned Long for that. It was went to Ed Allen. Hopefully for Ed next year, he plays consistent games next year. Jack Crisp, top 10 yet again, 10th season in a row in the top 10. You notice the top 10 as well. 8 of the top 10 all played every single game as well, and that's the key.
Yeah, there's a consistency element too of it, and we had a lot of ins and outs throughout the whole year. So if you were to play most games, you were going to be up there towards the final part of the standings.
And just respect the Perryman as well. He was fifth. Yeah. He played every single game.
I didn't pick that.
No,
I did not pick that at all.
Yeah, and the coaches, I think, realised as well, and what I realised as well after that count was they prioritised defensive efforts, doing what the coaches asked of them. Quaynor, Perryman did that in spades this year. Cameron, in particular, filling a hole down back, also just being the ruck as well. So deserving for Cameron, Quaynor, Perryman, Crisp, Mr. Consistent, and Ned Long, top 10 as well. What a breakout year for him.
Yep.
Mick, your thoughts on the Copeland?
Yeah, look, I was surprised that DC won until he actually won, and I realised, mate, the bloke plays good every game. Why am I surprised that he won it? You know, and good on him. You know, he's a warrior, and he won best clubman as well, which you don't know what goes on in the club, but he's obviously great around the training and around the club. So that it was good to see that as well. Absolutely stoked for Pezza to finish fifth. He's got to listen to bloody Cornsey saying he should be delisted.
I had that written down here. I was actually just flipping the pages before, just going back, because I did write that down earlier on today. So for those of you that haven't noticed, Kane Corn said a couple of weeks ago, or I think it might have been just after the prelim loss, he goes, you know, Collingwood should delist, you know, X, Y, Z, blah, blah, blah. And one of the players was, you know, Harry Perriman. And I think he had Membry in there as well. And I'm thinking to myself, look, I'm not going to lie. I'm always being as honest as possible as I can on my channel, especially. But I don't disagree with a lot of what Kane Corn says. I actually think a lot of the stuff he says has, oh, no, I can see that. But then something, and this is the Nuffy bias coming out of me, something flicks when he talks about Collingwood. And I'm just like, you know nothing about this football club, mate. Like, you just... Yeah, and it does my head in. And when he said that, I just thought to myself, mate, I'm going to struggle to listen to you for next season with the crap that she's coming out, and then that happens. And I think it's he should. I think he should apologise for that, because that's a shit call. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, but look, I had Nick Dacos as 1, Darcy Cameron 2, Jamie Elliott 3, Josh Dacos 4, and still side bottom 5. They all finished in the top 10. Obviously not in that order. So, you know, again, it was more just if you were consistent throughout the season, you were going to get with the way that the team structure was, with the chopping and changing, the management of the older boys and stuff like that. There were some that popped up, which obviously was a bit of a surprise in final standings. Not surprise finishing in top 10, but where they finished, yes, I think that was a bit of a surprise. But now moving on, list spots, rumours coming out. We say goodbye to Oleg Markov, who's been delisted. Finn McRae's been delisted. We had Will Hoskin-Elliott, who retired from the football from football. Ash Johnson has been delisted. And then Brody Mychek has chosen the free agency option, has expressed his desire to take the 2-year contract, which I thought it was rumored to be a 3-year contract. And from the words that I was getting, it was a little bit more money, but for 3 years. So he was always going to take that. Turns out it's just a little bit more money on 2 years, as opposed to Collingwood, that initially I'm led to believe did have a 2-year contract on offer for him, but at lower money. So someone who's come from, and I did a video on him today, someone who came to Melbourne from Tassie and played for Maribyrnong Park in the EFL, has then gone on to play for Werribee, gone on to play for Port Melbourne, got his break at Collingwood in 2017, played in the grand final in 2018, kicked a really important goal in the 2018 grand final, which unfortunately we couldn't get over the line in. And then just a consistent workhorse performer, 5-time leading goal scorer, premiership player of the football club. Just quickly, I don't think there's going to be any people holding grudges on him for choosing the better option for him moving forward. I don't think we can sit here and say that we're going to boo him, or there's animosity there now between the club and the player and the supporters. That, am I reading that correctly? Or
no, you're right, man. Yeah, yep. I'm just surprised that Melbourne's picked him up. It's like, really? Like, look, we all love him, but come on, he can't play 4 games in a row. He's banged up. If he goes to Melbourne and plays like every week and starts blitzing, I'll be absolutely ropeable. But yeah, I'm surprised they went for him. Anyway, that's just me.
They don't have they don't have an absolute key forward. They've lost Ben Brown over the last couple of years. Luke Jackson helped out heaps and went up there. The Brodie Grundy situation didn't help with him playing forward up there. Van Ruen's been in and out. McDonald plays up and back, and God knows what. He's not consistent enough for him. So they've got Van Ruen there. There's whispers of Bailey Fritsch. He's going to be traded out or potential, trade bait. He might not be there next season. Who knows? They're just very vague whispers that you hear around the traps and stuff like that. But, they don't have that solid workhorse in the forward. So I can see where he fits in that sort of realm there. But, we can see as Collingwood supporters over the past 2 seasons, especially this season, towards the end of the season, the form just sort of tapers away a little bit. Like Brodie Mychek, 2023 Mychek is going to be peak Mychek. And then sort of the last 2 years have been things. So that's why at the same time too, in my opinion, it gives players like Charlie West, a real opportunity now to crack into the side. And it might even help McStay, Membry play a bit more open. Because Checkers, not only was he a tall forward, he was very agile, he was very mobile on the ground too. So he sort of had that both components to his game. There's a lot of other news and rumors and stuff like that are coming out now. We've been linked to Bailey Humphrey from the Gold Coast Suns. Today it's come out from when this recording's happening. It's come out that, we've been linked to Zach Butters now.
Please.
And we've spoken to him.
I love him.
The other big one that's come out today, which we could talk about Humphrey, we could talk about Butters and stuff like that. But the other one that's come out today, which I am in agreement with the club on this one, which a lot of people aren't. But Tom McGuan will not be selected as a father-son choice. We have committed to getting him later on in the rookie draft and stuff like that and sign him as a rookie. The club is committed to doing that. But which means that we can potentially lose him in the national draft if another club wants to snap him up. Nate, I want to get your opinion on that from a club perspective.
So if it's the rookie draft, it's pick 16. So there's no guarantee we even get him in the rookie draft as well. But I did make a video about an hour ago on this. And I know it's late picks we've got this year. And we're tied to McGuan, McCarthy, Saxena. I think Doug Kerr is eligible as well, but he's a top ager. But I've just got a sneaky feeling, and this is because of Butters, Humphrey, and possibly Oliver. We won't get all 3. Like we might even get 0 out of 3 sort of thing. But I've got a sense now that we could be brewing something in the next 10 days. Like this could possibly lead to getting that big fish, getting a midfielder to dance alongside Nick Dacos in the midfield for the next 3 to 5 years, long term as well. This Tom McGuan news, it's a bit surprising from me at least, particularly with Tom McGuan's trajectory as well and the expectations as well. I hope he gets picked up from someone at least. Best case scenario, he's on our rookie list and he develops properly next year with a full preseason. But it's a bit surprising that we've gone no to him and he's fallen down the fandom draft order as well to as low as 60s and 70s and possibly not even being drafted at all, which is a bit surprising.
Well, we spoke on the Sharon stand before I get to your mix just quickly. We spoke on the Sharon stand a while ago. And when I was talking to the boys, we spoke about obviously these picks and stuff coming in, and we were under the impression that even if we had nominated, we said that we were going to commit to him in the draft, if there was a chance that he was going to get picked up in the top 20, we weren't going to match the bid. And I've got that on pretty good, authority from some pretty higher ups that we weren't going to go that far for him. We obviously rate him. He's going to play AFL footy, regardless one way or another. He's a good player. But is it worth hoping that we've got a quarter or a half of a Nick Dacos here, or 3/4 of a Josh Dacos coming into the side, purely based because of the success stories from the Dacos boys and the fact that it's Tom's last name, which is a massive driving factor here, not so much on his football ability. That's the perception that's sort of coming out now. I look at it as if we've had the Browns come through, didn't work. There was all this hype on Tyler, didn't work. Obviously, the Cloaks, that didn't really work out too well. Travis was obviously the success story there, but I feel as if with the Cloaks, we sort of had to get the first two because we wanted the young one. We got a flag out of it, great. The next one, obviously the Shores. I mean, they worked out for a relevant period of time, but obviously with Reese's time, most of his time, we were a bottom club towards the bottom, working our way up. And then obviously we made those 2 grand finals. Heath was obviously the success story there. And then we traded him off after the flag. And then, we got Taylor Adams, who was a good serviceman for the football club. So it's a question of, and I'll pose this to you, Mick. Do you think that it's a gamble that we should be taking and using a pick for him in the draft, or should we hold that pick, bundle it up with something else that we might be brewing to give us a bit more strength to go for someone like a Humphreys, to go for someone like a Butters? Because the Oliver side of things, I think it's just a future second-round pick. I think that gets it done, to be honest. And I think GWS will probably have a first-round pick and say to Melbourne, just give him to us here. He's a first-rounder. And they'll do the deal with them there. But would you waste that pick? Not waste it. Would you use that pick for a Tom McGuan, or would you risk, we'll commit to you afterwards, we'll bundle the picks up, let's go for a big fish?
Yeah, I'm with you there, Andreas. I'm supporting the club here. We need to top up. If we can bundle that pick up and pick up a Butters or a Humphrey, then I'm all for it. As much as Tommy's dad, he's my favourite ever Collingwood player. Loved Mick McGuan.
Yeah.
And would love to see Tommy make it. But remember, about a year ago, 2 years ago, everyone was talking him up, but that's subsided now. And he's not even getting invited to the camps and stuff like that. So he's obviously dropped off a bit. And, we might pick him up in some other form later on. But, yeah.
With that being said, though, I mean, he's obviously good enough to be on an AFL list or AFL rookie list. So we're not saying that, he's thinking, but if the club was adamant, no, this is the kid, blah, 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 I mean, they would be trading, they would be cutting their picks that they've got now and splitting them to get more points with other picks just to match any potential bid, like what happened with Nick Dacos going at pick number 4 because Gold Coast bid on him, and even if he went at number 1 and he got bid on number 1, he was still going to be matched by Collingwood. We had the points there. We weren't going to go into deficit with the draft and stuff like that. Nate, what's your opinion on that? I want to get your thoughts. Do you think are you with the club on this one?
Right now, I'm going to back them in, just like how we selected our team in the prelim final. If it lands us a Butters or a Humphrey, if we can swap out 2026 first rounder, around 2027 first rounder to get into this year's draft, or to use these future picks and still be eligible to use a future pick later on to get, again, Butters or Humphrey, I'm all for it. A win-win would be get Butters and then get Tom McGuan in the rookie draft, even better. We are tight for senior list spots as well, hence why Mitchell and Cox have been told to wait. I think Sullivan needs to be promoted or else he has to go as well. Rowan Steele probably deserves a senior contract as well. Will Parker probably deserves a senior contract as well, but I think he still is allowed to be on the rookie list still, so we'll play up that as well. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what we do in the next week or so with these picks. I think for Oliver, if he wants to stay in Victoria but can't play at Melbourne, he'll be linked to us. And I do think Melbourne's showing their hand on this, and it'll be a future second or something in the second round to get the job done, particularly paying a discount as well, even better. But Zach Butters, if they're not happy with the free agency compensation, Port Adelaide, and they want to play negotiations or whatever, then we'll be in the mix.
Hopefully we also need to get. Also need to get. Well, that's the thing too. But we also need to get our compensation pick for Brody Mychek, which is going to be added towards our picks as well.
Yeah,
from the AFL.
I was going to just clarify on that as well. Melbourne, it may not be free agency. It might actually end up being a trade. We find out
It
by
could be.
Friday.
It could be, yes. Yeah. So, and I posted a video on that today, and then I was quickly corrected because the title was via free agency. And I just left it because it's still a possibility he can go via free agency, but Melbourne could decide to trade for him, which means, it's, I guess, sort of there in the control. They're in the driver's seat with that one there on how they want to go about it. So I'm kind of hoping that regardless of what pick it is, it's another, it's a second rounder. I hope it's a second rounder for him, because if we can get another second rounder in for him, then it's just a little bit extra that we've got with, not a very big drive then, because we obviously traded off our first rounder for Dan Houston. So, we've got a lot of spaces to fill up, but the question is, how are we going to be able to get ourselves in a position to get, a Humphreys or a Butters? I think if you had to choose and go for one of the three, it's Butters, Humphrey, Oliver.
Yeah.
I'll take Oliver out of the situation now because,
Fair enough. Yeah.
That's whatever. But if you had to choose out of them two, and the club has now the opportunity to trade a player out, get some more picks in and stuff like that, I'm a bit stumped as to how this can happen. I know this is going to be controversial saying, I think, but the only way that I can see this happening is if we trade off Bobby Hill to West Coast, and then we get pick two, like Bobby Hill and another player. I don't know what other player. Let's just say, for example, Ed Allen, because he's from Western Australia. I'm just using it as a hypothetical here. We give Bobby Hill and Ed Allen and potentially a future second or third to West Coast for, pick two. And then maybe like a second just as a sweetener or whatever it is. Yeah. So we're getting them a little bit more than. Then all of a sudden, with a pick two in our hand, we become a lot more in the talks with Port Adelaide to say, hey, listen, what do you want? And here's pick two. Because I think, apart from Nick, probably apart from Josh, because he's had a really good second half of the year, Nick, Josh, Darcy, Cameron, I think everybody is tradable. And I'm saying Nick because I think he's the best player in the comp. Josh, because I think he's just structurally, I think he's really important to us. And Darcy Cameron, one of our best and fairest, and I think he's the second best ruckman in the competition. I think they're the three untouchables in our team. Everybody else is on the table if we're able to land somebody like a Zach Butters. Nate, what's your opinion on that?
That's a big net you've casted on that one. It's going to take a lot for a pick two, for example, but I think we'll get something done to get the trade picks moving. I'm not reaching as high as pick two from West Coast or anything like that, but if there's...
I'm just using it as an example on how to get into the play of getting a Butters and how to turn the heads of, of Port Adelaide.
Yeah, and it would take probably a Bobby Hill or maybe someone like a McCreary or a DeGoey if they wanted to leave the state for lifestyle reasons or whatever. But that's far-fetched or anything like that. It's going to take a lot to get this sort of stuff done, but we'll play it out day by day, figure it out. But I'm not reaching that far out just yet. It'd be better. Best case scenario, I reckon, maybe a 2027 first rounder, trade that out. If someone wants to take that risk, I think we'd be the first team to do such a feat like that, get to this year's draft or work from that point on. But I'm looking forward to seeing how it gets done. If this does get done, I'll make videos nonstop just calling Justin Leppich a genius. I don't think he's got that in his repertoire yet, but if he gets it done, my goodness.
Yeah. Mick, what are your thoughts on what we need moving forward next year? Like, what is it in our team from the starting 23, because the starting 23 are the subs finished, the starting 23, what is it that we need to be able to take it up to a side like Brisbane?
We need an A-list midfielder, and Butters just is the number one candidate we should be going for. And I really hope behind the scenes, Leppich and the guys are really going for it. And then I'm willing to see the back of Bo or Geordie or Bobby to see that coming to fruition. As much as I love Bo McCreary, but Butters is Butters, man. He'll be just perfect in that midfield. He'll just we need an A-list midfielder. with the forwards, I'm happy with the acquisition of Buller. Now, that's a done deal. Are we assuming that's a done deal, Buller?
Yeah, I think that's going to be a few.
Yep.
I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah.
I've spoken to
Nominated
him and stuff, but because like we've got the contract there, he said he wants to come. It's going to happen. I believe it's a future second rounder. That's going to get it done. Sydney will probably want a little bit more, so I wouldn't be surprised if we threw something in from one of our picks this season, as long as we've got the points to make up to get McCarthy and Saxena in the side. If we can lock them two in the draft and we've got enough points for them, then this can happen. I also wouldn't be surprised if the whole Tom McGuan thing is because we want to try and get Buller into the side as well. There is that part of it too. Yeah. Maybe we just take a step back because we need to get this acquisition in the forward line. So, but I think either way he gets to the club.
Yep. So we've got Buller. We need an A-list mid, and we do need another defender, I think, with Howie getting on a bit. And Blight, jury's still in, but you know, he's okay. Everyone's saying, why is Richmond delisting him? They've got a lot of tools. Stephen May, I'm a big advocate of not injecting someone like that into our culture. That's why I'm against Oliver, players like Oliver and May and JUH. Don't want to see that. You know, we've got a good family-orientated culture, and our players, they all seem to be good mates off the field as well, and it's really good. And you don't want to inject something like that into the team. And as much as we all love Bobby, man. But if this drama is going to continue on to next year, where he's taking days off training because he needs to attend to his personal matters, then it's not conducive to a professional environment. And I'm not against us shopping him around, in order for us to improve our list. Yeah,
definitely. All right, well, that's pretty much the big talking points that are coming up now in the last week or so. We're going to hear a hell of a lot more coming up, obviously, pretty much from Monday onwards. This video will be posted on Monday. So, there could be some discrepancies in, just for everybody that's watching. We are filming this on a Sunday night. I do have the NRL Grand Final also underneath here. At the moment, I'm watching that. It's 22-26. The Broncos have come back pretty hard on the Storm. We're at the 77-minute mark at the moment. Yeah.
Who's winning? Sorry?
So the Broncos are up 26. The Storm are 22. Okay. The Storm have been up the whole time, and Broncos the second half have just done the Brisbane Lions, and they're just going crazy. So
that's 3 comebacks in a row by them.
Yep. Anyway, we'll see what happens. Boys, I want to thank you both for being part of the series, the 3-part series. I really appreciate you guys coming on and sharing your thoughts. I will be putting your links to your channels, obviously, in the title of this video. So that'll be there for everybody to click on. If you haven't already, everyone, please make sure you give Nate and Mick a follow on YouTube. And it's going to be an interesting off-season. I'm sure I'll speak to you boys again. Keep doing what you're doing with your channels. Any final words before we sign off?
No. Can I say the last thing?
What's that?
Calm the pies. Stole it.
Thanks.